130 pounds, super featherweight, junior lightweight. Sometimes it's a bridge weight class between the featherweight division and the lightweight division, and that's how people sometimes see it. But in reality, some of boxing's biggest superstars have been 130-pound world champions, from Julio Cesar Chavez to Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya. And now Pernell Whitaker goes 135 pounds. So we've had some really top champions, guys who've gone on to have great careers, win championships at 130 pounds. So it's a weight class that you want to keep an eye on, because sometimes it seems to be the springboard where you win a world championship there and you move on to other bigger, greater things. April 30th, we're talking about a possible mega fight here in this weight class. Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez, a WBO, WBC World Championship unification fight. People are really starting to talk about this, the rumored fight and the potential that it has. Some people are calling it a possibly overlooked great fight. Personally, I think stylistically, it's a fight that really favors Shakur Stevenson. Oscar Valdez is a fun fighter, but you gotta put him with the right kind of opponent. End of the day, I didn't think he looked that great. Valdez looked that great with Conceicao, with Robinson Conceicao in his last fight. He's had some fights where he's gone into all-out wars. Again, stylistically, if you put him in with a guy who fights like him and who stays in front of him, he makes for some really fun, great fights. But I don't see him as a guy who's really effective against a moving target. Shakur Stevenson is a guy who might be the guy to carry the sport in the next decade or so. A former Olympic silver medalist. He's got a lot going for him. He's a guy who a lot of people have their eye on. Has really looked like a shining type of prospect, contender, and now champion. In his last fight, he stopped Jamel Herring to win his second world championship in second weight class. And so now we're here in a unification process, a possible fight with Oscar Valdez. Personally, for me, I love it when champions fight each other, but I don't see this fight being that kind of sparkling fight. At the end of the day, styles make fights, and I see Shakur Stevenson being not only too much for Oscar Valdez, but just too skilled for Oscar Valdez. I think Valdez will never stop trying. He'll keep going. He'll give it his all. But ultimately, this kind of fight reminds me of some of the matchups Pretty Boy Floyd had at 130 pounds. Maybe the Jesus Chavez fight, if you guys remember, that kind of fight. Maybe even Goyo Vargas versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. At 130 pounds. I just feel like he's going to have a willing champion in front of him, just like Jesus Chavez was, just like Goyo Vargas was for Mayweather, but just nowhere near good enough. And that's how I see Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez is a fun guy to watch. I think he's going to be entertaining even after this fight. He's had some stellar knockouts. I think he knocked out Berchelt really badly, if I remember correctly. So he's the kind of guy, it will be fun if you got the right guy in front of him. Shakur Stevenson is not the right guy for him. It's not going to be a fun fight. I see Stevenson winning handily, and I see Stevenson getting a lot of credit for this, as obviously he should. It's a world title unification, and I think it's going to continue to build the rising profile and eventual legacy of Shakur Stevenson. So April 30th, everybody's excited. I may not be as excited, but I'll definitely be watching. Shakur Stevenson, look for him to top Oscar Valdez pretty easily in a unanimous decision. You say, Paulie, you think he wins easily, so what does he do after that? Does he move up? I'm not crazy about all these move-ups, because it gets harder and harder. He started at 126 pounds, his first world title. He won at 126 pounds, so he's actually smaller than Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather was in the Olympics at 125 pounds, but he won his first world championship at 130 pounds, and he was even younger than Shakur. Floyd was only 21 years old when he won his 130-pound world championship. So I don't know that Shakur Stevenson has the physical stature to move up too many weight classes. He reminds me a little bit of Vasyl Lomachenko, so maybe he can, in terms of his frame, so maybe he can go to 135 at most. I think at 140 he's already risking too much. I don't see the physical stature of Shakur Stevenson taking him higher than 135 pounds, but even if he's able to win titles at 130 and then 135 pounds, you're already starting to talk about a Hall of Fame career here. People think, he's the future and maybe he should fight Lomachenko right now. I've heard some of that talk. I don't think he's ready for Lomachenko right now. I don't think you waste that fight on him right now. I think he's got the potential to carry the sport in the next generation. He's one of the guys that people have their eyes on as far as a real having a big profile and being a star for of the sport in the next decade. And so you don't want to move a guy like that too fast. I know, talk about Floyd Mayweather, they moved him really fast. He was fighting some top guys early, but that guy was a special guy. I don't think you have too many guys that are fighting those kind of tough fights so early. Shakur is fighting tough guys. He's fighting championship level fighters, but I think the Lomachenko fight is a little bit too early for him right now. I think you continue to let him build. I think he's going to get a lot of respect and a lot of credit for beating Oscar Valdez, as he should. But I think stylistically, this is really a fight that favors him, and it's sort of going to play into his hands a lot, and is going to allow him to look really good.